What's going on, y'all? This is DJ Boss Player with the Hip Hop Corner at the University of Maryland, WMUC. I'm here with Russel Williams, two-time Oscar winner Russel Williams in the building right now. What's going on, man?
It's your world, my brother. I'm just glad to be here to support Maya Angelou and the wonderful foundation.
So from what I understand, you interviewed Maya Angelou back in '72. Tell me about your relationship with her.
At the time, I was a student at American University, and we had a radio program on Saturday afternoons called Spirits Known and Unknown. So everybody had read her book, Caged Bird. But when her new book at the time came out, it was called Gather Together in My Name. So I found out, I think she was staying at the Madison Hotel, and I just contacted her press agent and said, we would like to interview Miss Angelou if possible. Now, we're like doing a little college radio show.
Yeah, just like us right now.
And I said, there's no way that she's going to give us this interview. They called back an hour later and says, well, Miss Angelou will be able to see you on Tuesday or whatever it was. So we had an hour-long talk. I mean, she spoke with me as if I was Mike Wallace or Ed Bradley or somebody. And the results of that interview were played on the air, but I, of course, kept listening to that tape. And she would talk about young people getting their act together, taking a risk to further their career, to travel, to see the world, and to be the person they wanted to be. And so when I decided it was time to leave Washington and go to Hollywood, I would always replay that and kind of like pump myself up. And strangely enough, the night before I won my second Oscar, now we're talking easily 20 years later, Maya Angelou was sitting in the crowd. And I haven't seen her since we did this interview. And all of a sudden, because it actually was 1974, and then my second Oscar was 1991, so it was almost 20 years. And it was like, oh my goodness.
That's full circle.
Oh my goodness. So when I heard about this event tonight, I said, I have to come support it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously a lot of time has passed since 74, 72. But tell us briefly about your Oscars and what that was about.
Okay, Thomas, I started in radio, just like you guys are doing, while I was doing my college degree. I graduated, went and worked at NBC here, Channel 7 here. I worked maybe 5 years doing freelance work in documentaries. Went to Los Angeles in 1979. And at the time, I thought about maybe I would go out as a director. But when I got there, people still wanted people to do sound. In other words, record the sound portion of the documentary or commercial. So that led to feature films. And after working 4 or 5 or more years of low-budget movies that nobody's seen, I got my first big break on a film called Field of Dreams, which was in 1988, and then I never looked back. Field of Dreams, then right after that was Glory, Oscar #1. Right after that was Dances with Wolves, Oscar #2. There were 2 Emmys, one before and one long after those, but it really put me in the higher echelon of black film technicians. I was the first African-American to ever win more than one Oscar. Denzel became the second when he won for Glory, which we both worked together on. Hint. He also won for Training Day. We both worked together on. Hint. He got nominated 5 total times. He won the 2 times he worked with me. Bonus money. And then there was a gentleman named Willie Burton who also did sound. And he's still in the business doing sound. He got his first Oscar for the Buddy Holly story. No, I'm sorry, for Bird, the movie on Charlie Parker, the jazz musician, and most recently for Dreamgirls. So far, there are only 3 of us African-Americans have more than one Oscar. We are waiting for you. Bring it on.
I don't know, man.
Come on, man.
That's a tough call, man.
Do it, man.
I'll try. Just for you, I'm going to try and get a couple.
Look, I started in Southeast D.C. I know you can get there. All you got to do is desire.
Well, I appreciate the positivity. Final question. Speak about the ways you overcame adversity being an African-American in Hollywood.
Well, that's an interesting question, Thomas, and the overcoming adversity actually started here because it was actually tougher to me working at NBC back in the 70s because I was working with people at the time that were card-carrying Klansmen. And I had to find out and figure out a way to get along with them because they had to train me on certain equipment and they had an attitude, but I had to figure out, okay, well, can't come at it straight on. So maybe I'll give this guy a compliment today and see if he goes for that. That almost worked. Didn't work. Then the second time I tried to get to him, I said, okay, he's probably never seen a black person read. So what I did was go back to the maintenance room, get the operation manual for the gear I was trying to get him to train me on. And so I'm reading the operation manual. And I knew when he came back from lunch, his curiosity was going to get the best of him. So he came over and he said, "What you doing, Williams?" I said, "Oh, I'm just reading about the projector." He said, "Well, what are you trying to do, get a job in maintenance?" I said, and this is where I got him. I said, "Well, look, my dad's a master carpenter. And the biggest whooping I ever got was I took a hammer and a screwdriver instead of a hammer and a chisel." And he said, "Look, boy, I make my living with my tools. If you can't use my tools right, then don't touch them at all." I said, "These tools are a lot more expensive. I just want to make sure I know what I'm doing." I had him. He was in the net. He didn't let me go home any evening without showing me something extra, a little switchy, because now I'm not a threat anymore. Now I'm there to make sure nobody pours Coca-Cola in the projector. I'm not, trying to move him off of his job. He just wanted to make sure that I was as concerned about his gear as he was. So I used that lesson once I got out to Los Angeles. People look at you kind of strange and say, "Hey, look, put your earphones on. Do you hear the sound? Does it sound good?" That's what I did. So after a while, they stopped looking at this, and they started looking at you as a professional. And that's the only way I really wanted to be evaluated, is as a professional. But, of course, you have to understand that this is what they see first. So I give it to them as a professional. "Good morning, my name is Mr. Williams. Where's our first setup?" "Oh, okay," And that's how I worked at 25 years. The guys that I hired and trained, which were mostly African-American and Puerto Rican, same way. I said, we're going to do it almost as if we were in the military. Always clean, always respectful, always professional. And if we do make a mistake, we don't let anybody know. Because, see, the question is, was it a mistake or you just an ignorant black guy? See, so you always have to worry about how's that going to be viewed. So just look cool. Just do it right and have a backup plan. You know what I'm saying? If you do mess up, okay, well, this broke, okay, put another one on there. All right, and just maybe tell as few people as you need to, but tell them immediately. Don't let them find out later. So we had a little problem on take 2. Can we get another one? Okay, all right. And see, after a while, they realize, okay, it can happen to anybody, but they don't want you to be a slacker. Okay. So that I would say was the key, and it served me well. It served me well now that I'm back in the classroom, because it's the same thing. What is expected of you? How do you present yourself? How do you communicate to the people who want to get the information from you? That's why I say you can do it too.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the positive words. Those are some valuable life lessons. That was Russell Williams, and we're out of here.